So hey guys, welcome back to our channel, and today we are going to review the movie Eddie and the Cruiser that came in 1983. So in this video we are doing its full movie review. We'll talk about its fact and analyze this full movie. So let's start it with its overview and introduction. So Eddie and the Cruiser is a 1983 American musical drama film directed by Martin Davidson, and the film has gained cult status over the year mainly due to its complaining story, memorable soundtrack, and intriguing portrayal of fame, mystery, and the 1960s rock scene. It stars Michael Paré as Eddie Wilson along with Tom Berenger, Joy Pantoliano, and the film is best known for its atmospheric depiction of the 1960s rock scene, its haunting soundtrack, and its mysterious, open-ended narrative that has intrigued audience for decades. And if we talk about plot summary, set set primarily in the early 1960s, the film follows the story of Eddie Wilson, Miguel Bear, a talented and charismatic musician who leads the band Paré and the Cruiser. The band experienced brief success with their debut album, but suddenly Eddie vanishes after a heated argument with the band's manager. Years later, in the early 1980s, a radio DJ named Dave Joy Pantolian becomes obsessed with uncovering with truth, truth behind Eddie's disappearance and the fate of the band through interviews, cell footage, and personal investigation. He seeks to discover whether Eddie is alive and what really happened during the tumultuous era. The film explores themes of fame, artistic and integrity, betrayal, and the enduring mystery surrounding Eddie's disappearance. The story unfolds with a nostalgic reflection on the 1960s music scene and the personal struggling of the band members. We talk about major themes and analysis. Fame, if we talk about fame and its rise, the film examines how fame can be conflicting and destructive. Eddie's rise to stardom is met with personal sacrifice, and his disappearance indicates the dark side of the music industry pressure, battle, and the loss of innocence. It about artistic integrity versus commercial success. Eddie's character embodies the struggle between staying true to one's artistic vision and the temptation of commercial success. The band's initial success is with sweet and Eddie's mysterious disappearance raises questions about the cost of fame. We talk about mystery and nostalgia. The film's narrative is driven by mystery. The audience and the character Dave The soundtrack is a central element of the film, featuring original songs that become iconic in their own right. Put out on the Dark Side by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. Tender Years by John Cafferty, Eddie and the Crew, the title track Living for the Radio. The music captures the essence of 1960s rock and has a nostalgia, soulful quality. The soundtrack success helped the band's music gain popularity outside the film, with some songs charting on Billboard. Talk about character and performance. Eddie Tom Erickson, Michael Page, charismatic lead singer and guitarist whose mysterious disappearance remains a central mystery. Terry Michael Page, Eddie's brother, who is deeply connected to Eddie's story, Senator Antonian, the radio DJ and narrator whose obsession drives the story. Joy McAfee, member of the band, representing the internal conflict of the group. We talk about Hina, Annabeth, Kish, a young woman who becomes with the pets events story. If we talk about critical reception and legacy, while Eddie and the Cruiser was not a massive box office hit upon release, it received positive reviews for its nostalgic atmosphere, soundtrack, and storytelling. Over time, it gained a cult following, especially among fans of classic rock and 1980s music films. The film's open-ended conclusion, leaving Eddie's fate ambiguous, has sparked immense debate and series, contributing to its enduring appeal. It took a sequel and follow-up. The sequel, Eddie and the Cruiser, second, Eddie Dies, 1989, was released, continuing with the story and exploring Eddie's possible survival. However, the sequel was less critically acclaimed and its generally considered inferior to the original. We talk about interesting facts and trivia. The band in the film Harry and Cruiser was fictional, but the soundtrack's song gained real popularity, with some charting on Billboard. Michael Peer recast based on the film's ambiguous ending has led to many theories and interpretations, with some fans believing Eddie survived and others thinking he perished. Without cultural impact, Eddie and the Cruiser special place in American pop culture, especially among music fans and those nostalgic for the 1960s. Its influence extends into cult status among fans of classic rock and 1980s nostalgia, memorable soundtrack that continues to be celebrated, inspiring debates about the true fate of Eddie, a reminder of the darker side of fame and sacrifice artists make. If you talk about conclusion, Eddie and the Cruiser, Eddie and the Cruiser, it's complaining of mystery, music, and nostalgia. It's atmospheric storytelling, memorable soundtrack, and open-ended narrative have cemented its status as a cult classic. The film explores complex themes of fame, betrayal, and artistic integrity while capturing the spirit of 1960s rock music. Now let's talk about more. Now let's talk about more. Eddie and the Cruiser 1983 in-depth review and extensive facts. It has one introduction and overview. Eddie and the Cruiser stands as a quintessential cult classic in American cinema, especially given among fans of 1960s and 1980s rock music. Uh, Despite its modest office performance upon initial release, the film evocative atmosphere, compelling mystery, and iconic soundtrack have cemented its place in pop culture history. Now let's talk about no. It's directed by Martin Davidson It's a kind of musical drama, mystery, and nostalgia, exploring themes of fame, betrayal, artistry, and the enduring mystery surrounding our legendary drama band from the 1960s. It's open-ended, conclusive, and memorable soundtrack has countless debates, theories, and admiration over it. Our plot deep dive aesthetic and atmosphere set predominantly in small towns and rural landscape of Rhode Island and New England. Film captures a nostalgic look at the 1960s rock scene. The atmosphere is tinged with a mix of hope, rebellion, and inevitable displacement that often characterize the music industry golden era. If it about what deep dive, the setting and atmosphere set predominantly in the small town and rural landscape of Rhode Island and New England. The film captures the nostalgic look at the 1960s rock scene. The atmosphere is tinged with a mix of hope, rebellion, and inevitable disillusionment that often characterize the music industry golden era. Narrative structure and themes. The film employs a narrative driven by mystery and investigation. The story is framed through the perspective of Sal, a radio DJ, Joey Antoliano, who became obsessed with uncovering the truth about Eddie Wilson, the charismatic frontman of the band, Eddie and Cruiser. The central mystery revolves around Eddie's sudden disappearance in 1968 after the band split, but then success the questions of whether Eddie is alive or dead and what happened to him forms the core of the film's intrigue. We talk about story, progression, key moments. To introduction of the band, ending the film culminates in a climactic revelation that remains incredibly ambiguous, leaving us wondering Eddie's fate. So ultimately having survived and started anew while others believed he perished. It covered major themes. Over major themes and symbols. The illusion of fame. The film criticizes means how fleeting and destructive fame can be, often leading to personal displacement. That is we talk about major themes and symbols. The illusion of fame, the film deeply examines how fleeting and destructive fame can be, often leading to personal disillusionment and mysterious disappearance symbolize the cost of chasing stardom and the loss of innocence. Eddie's struggle highlight the tension speed of our research or authenticity. The film explores the desire for genuine artistic expression in a world obsessed with image and commercialism, making Eddie's character symbol of authenticity lost amid the industry superficial. We talk about music and soundtrack significance of the soundtrack. If we talk about music and soundtrack significance of the soundtrack, the soundtrack is arguably by the film's most enduring legacy, composed and performed primarily by John Cafferty and the VR Brown Band. The music perfectly captures the emotional core of the story. Our notable cracks on the dark side, the hit song that became an anthem of the film and a staple of 1980s rock studio. A bit of a tender years, a soulful villain that underscores emotional vulnerability, variety, and the cruiser title track embodies the rebellious spirit of the band, living for the radio. A reflective piece about the fleeting nature of fame. Talk about impact of the soundtrack. The soundtrack became a commercial success with some songs charting on Billboard. It helped elevate the band's popularity and becomes synonymous with the film's themes of nostalgia, rebellion, and longing. Third character performance Eddie Wilson, Uncle Bear charismatic, rebellious, and deeply talented, and is the archetype of the misunderstood artist. His mysterious disappearance fuels the film. Mr. P's portrait combines our raw energy with emotional depth, making Eddie a compelling and enigmatic figure. Towards all joyful the narrative and DJ's all embodies the audience curiosity and obsession with Eddie's relentless pursuit of the truth to reflect and the unusually that uncourage and understood man with our Gina and with Keys, a young woman who becomes connected to the band's story, adding layers of romance and innocence to the narratives. Dog other band member Terry Adilweather, who represents loyalty and the personal cost of faith. Joy, a band member, comfort loyalty and ambition. Without guitarist, drummer, and bassist. They symbolize the collective effort and camaraderie of the band, which each with their own struggles. And if we talk about production and filming locations, and now if we talk about production and filming. Firstly, let's talk about filming locations. The film was shot in Rhode Island, capturing authentic small town America and the rural landscape of New England, which contributes to the nostalgic tone. If we talk about direction and cinematography, Martin Edson directed episode mood and atmosphere blending concert footage. Candid band interaction and reflective scene. The cinematography employed palm lighting, sweeping shot of scenic landscape to evoke nostalgia. It about casting and music. integration. Michael Fair was cast for Michael Fair was cast for his charismatic presence and musical ability, performing many of the songs himself. The film introduced live performance studios, recording and concert scene, seamlessly enhancing authenticity. About cultural and critical reception. Initial reception. It have what called class status. Over the years, the film's reputation grew, especially among music fans and those nostalgia for the 96. Its open-ended narrative and memorable soundtrack fostered a dedicated fan base. Travel, legacy, and influence. The film influenced later rock themed movie and documentaries. Its depiction of small town musician and the mythic quality of Eddie's legend continue to resonate. However, the sequel and further development. Eddie and the Cruiser's second Eddie leaves attempt to answer the lingering questions about Eddie's fate, suggesting he survived and reinvented himself. However, it failed to recapture the original mistakes that and was critically panned. Talk about interesting fact. Talk about the band Eddie and the Cruiser was fictional but the soundtrack. Songs become hits in their own right. Dr. Michael Pace performed most of his own vocals and guitar parts, adding authenticity to the film's narrative. Structure was influenced by classic detectives and mystery story with a focus on piecing together clues. Talk about the band at the end. The cruiser was fictional, but the soundtrack song became hits in their own right. Tom Michael Peer performed the film's narrative structure was influenced by classic detective and mystery stories with a focus on piecing together clues. Talk about the ambiguous ending intentionally leaves Artie's fate uncertain, encouraging multiple interpretations. The film's poster and marketing emphasized the mysteries surrounding Artie's disappearance, which became a central hook. Oh, let's talk about themes explored in greater depth. The mythos of the the film's poster and marketing emphasized the mystery surrounding Addie's disappearance, which became a central hook. And if you talk about themes explored in greater depth, mythos of the rockstar Eddie's person embodies the mythic archetype of the rebellious, misunderstood magician whose legend was grow beyond goes beyond his physical presence. And if we talk about the film's poster and marketing, the film's poster and marketing emphasize the mystery surrounding Eddie's disappearance, which become a central our themes explore in greater depth the mythos of the rock star Eddie's persona embodies the myth archetype of the rebellious, misunderstood magician whose legend grows beyond his physical presence. Toward the loss of innocence. The film portrays the 1960s as same time of innocence, thus thoughtful idealism giving way to disillusionment and commercial exploitation. The double search of meaning, both Eddie's disappearance and Sal's investigation symbolize a request for authenticity and truth in an era saturated with superficiality. Without conclusion and final thought. And Eddie and Accuser remains a powerful cultural artifact that encapsulate the mystics of 1960s rock and enduring allure of legend. Its combination of atmospheric storytelling, authentic music, and Unresolved Mysterious continues. So mystery continues to captivate audience. The film is more than just a story about a band. It's a reflection on the nature of fame, the price of artistic integrity, and the human longing for connection. The film is more than just a story about a band. It's a reflection of on the nature of fame, the price of artistic integrity, and the human longing for connection. The truth, its soundtrack remains iconic and it's mysterious and yours, making it a must-watch for fans music. History, mystery stories, and nostalgic cinema. Now let's talk about movies. The idea and the cruiser 983 ultimate in-depth analysis review and fact compilation. We talk about introduction and talk about plot and narrative structure and in-depth breakdown. The framing device narrative style. The film employs a narrative framework centered around Joy Pentegman, a local reviewer DJ who becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth about Eddie Wilson, the unremitting frontman of the band. Eddie and the Cruiser's hallucination interviews and archival footage as primary tools for storytelling. This approach creates a documentary-like feel, blending extensive elements, a pseudo-documentary elements, heightening the mystery and immersing viewers into the legend of Eddie Peter music plot points and after introduction to the band and their rise. The film culminates. The film begins with the band's information. The small town was initial struggle, raw talent, and rebellious attitudes set them apart in the local music scene. The Paré fusions charismatic and talent. Robert Eddie is portrayed as a charismatic, somewhat rebellious, and conflicted figure. His magnetic stage presence and songwriting talent make him the focal point of the band. The disappearance of Eddie after a heated argument, Eddie leaves the band and mysteriously vanishes. Himself. Some say he died in a car crash. Other claims he faked his death to escape the limelight. Decades later, the search begins. Sal, the DJ, becomes obsessed with solving the mystery, interviewing surviving band members, friends, and fans. He is strong, emotional core, about climactic revelation and ambiguous ending. The film culminates in a revelation that leaves Eddie's fate open to interpretation. Some believe he survived and started anew, others think he perished. It about themes and symbols, a deep dive fame, identity, and mythology. Many disciplines underscore the dark side of fame. Pressure, betrayal, and loss of self. The film suggests that the pursuit of fame often leads to personal sacrifice and disillusionment. Authenticity versus commercialism. Eddie's struggle reflects the tension between artistic integrity and the commercial demands of the music industry, the band's initial energy contrasts with the manufactured success that follows. Our nostalgia and cultural memory. The film captures a romanticized view of the 1960s. Its music ideals, sunlit, rebellious, while also hinting at the disillusionment that often accompanied that era. The search for truth and self-discovery, both self-investigation and Eddie's mysterious disappearance, symbolize a broader human quest for authenticity, truth, and self-understanding. We talk about music and soundtrack, the heart of the film. The soundtrack's significance. The soundtrack is arguably the most celebrated elements of the film, with songs that have achieved independent popularity and enduring recognition, composed and performed by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. The music embodies the spirit of 1960s rock, raw, emotional, rebellious. We talk about key tracks in details. On the dark side, the breakout hit capturing the rebellious energy of youth and zeal of the road. Its anthemic chorus and driving rhythm make it a potentiality of stripper without tender years. A soulful ballad that explores themes of longing, nostalgia, and lost love. Its emotional depth contrasts with the more energetic tracks. Talk about Eddie and the Cruiser, the title track encapsulating the spirit of the band, rebellion, passion, and myth. Living for the radio reflects the desire for recognition and fleeting nature of fame. If it is living or the radio reflect the desire for recognition and the fleeting nature of fame. Drama, background legacy of the soundtrack. The soundtrack became a commercial phenomenon. The song charting on Billboard and is often regarded as one of the best film soundtrack of the 1980s, and it influenced bassist in rock and soundtrack circles, inspiring cover versions and tributes. We talk about character studies and performance. We talk about Eddie Wilson vocal pair. It's whatever complexity and charisma pairs portray Eddie's magnetic personality. Now, if we talk about critical reception and audience reception, wait for a moment, guys. Okay, so let's talk about first initial reception. Mixed review upon release. Critics appreciated the soundtrack and nostalgic tone, but found the somewhat predictable. Some critics viewed it as a musical mystery with uneven pacing, and if we talk about cult status and enduring popularity. Over the decade, the film has grown in stature and especially among fans of rock um, music, 1960s culture, and mystical stories. And it open and has this countless inspiration theories and debates, theories and debates about Eddie's fate and it inspired influence and inspiration inspired subsequent movies exploring music legend and the exploring music legends and the mythic qualities of rock stars. The soundtrack remains influential, often cited in decision of critical music. And now let's talk about the sequel, Eddie and Cruiser. ID and Cruiser second Eddie Leaves Night that came in 1989 attempt to answer the question of Eddie's fate, questioning it reflects a desire, a fate association is that the sequel is generally incident fear lacking the mystics and emotional depth of the origin. It reflects a desire to resolve the lingering mystery of what ultimately deludes the mythical. And if we talk about cultural and artistic impact, let's firstly talk about legacy and influence. The film portrayal of a small town musician and the mythic quality of Eddie Wilson's legend continues to inspire musicians, filmmakers, and fans, and its soundtrack is regarded as a classic with songs that evoke the spirit of 1960s rock. And if we talk about reflection on fame's authenticity, the The story remains relevant as a commentary on the earlier and if we talk about nostalgia and revival, the film has experienced periodic revivals, especially during anniversaries and in nostalgia-driven media, reaffirming its status as a cultural touchstone. And if we talk about deep culture and thematic analysis, mm, myth making and hero journey, Eddie's story follows a mythic archetype, a hero who rises, faces trials, and disappears into legend. The open-ended conclusion leaves him as a symbol of the eternal quest for meaning and authenticity. And now, if we talk about disillusionment and the American dream, the narrative critiques the American dream, illustrating how ambition and success can lead to personal loss and disillusionment. And now, if we talk about deep culture and thematic analysis, myth making, and drama and music as myth making and heroes and added history follows the mythic archetype of hero who rises, faces trials, and disappears into legend. The open-ended conclusion leaves him as a symbol of the internal quest for meaning and authenticity. Without disillusionment and American dream, the narrative critiques the American dream, illustrating how ambition and success can lead to personal loss and disillusionment. Music as cultural memory. The film underscore music's artificial cultural memory, evoke emotion, and serve as universal language of rebellion and longing. Now let's talk about final reflection and interpretation. Eddie and the Chris is more than just a story about a band. It's a meditation on storytelling, myth, and the human journey. In legend, its ambiguous ending invites viewers to draw their own conclusion, awakening to timeless peace that continues to spark decision. The film's enduring appeals lie in combination of heartfelt music, compelling character, art-inspiring visuals, and a mystery that remains unsolved, much like the mm, elusive figure of Eddie Wilson himself. If and let's talk about more about it. If we talk about Eddie and the Cruiser 1983, the definitive in-depth analysis, review, and culture exploration, the introduction, the legacy of a cult classic, Eddie and the Cruiser is a film that transcends its initial box office performance. Performance to become a cornerstone of American love, music, mythology, and nostalgic cinema. Its reputation has grown steadily over the decades, fueled by its haunting soundtracks, enigmatic storyline, and powerful themes of myth-making, authenticity, and elusive nature of truth. The film impact is felt not just as entertainment but as a cultural phenomenon that explores the mythos of American musicians and eternal human fascination with presence that if we talk about nostalgia in the 1980s by the early 1980s, America was cuffed in a wave of nostalgia for this revolutionary period The music industry was experiencing a wave of interest in classic rock, and films often looked back at that era with a mixture of reverence and wistfulness. Eddie and the cruiser it perfectly into this cultural moment, capturing the spirit of that time while also commenting on the mighty qualities of rock legend. With our music industry, and mythology, the 1960s and 70s saw the rise of legendary artists whose career ended abruptly or faded into myth. The film echoes this phenomenon, exploring how legends are constructed, maintained, and sometimes mythologized beyond the truth. With our plot and narrative analysis, an extended look on the framing device and with our plot and narrative analysis, an extended breakdown, the framing device and storytelling techniques. The narrative pursued document style, blending fictional storytelling with interviews, footages, radio, voiceover, and a travel style source. This approach immerses viewers into the mystery surrounding Eddie Wilson, making the story feels like a real investigation into a legendary figure. Charles Joy and Rihanna. Uh, we talk about the major plot points and character development. The film final scenes of the band's humble beginning, capturing small town life and the band's union and subtle and the early sound is gritty, energetic and various, embodying the spirit of the 1960s. Talk about Eddie Pearson's rise and Charisma Eddie's magnetic stage presence and songwriting talent make him the focal point. His characterization now let's talk about the disappearance and aftermath. Following a heated argument, Eddie vanishes without explanation. Rumors circulate. Some say he died in a car crash. They believe he faked his death to escape fame. The band's subsequent collapse marks a tragic fit over decades of silence. The search cells obsession begins. Decades later, as he seeks to uncover Eddie's fate, his interviews with the band members, friends, and fans reveal conflicting accounts, deepening the mystery and emphasizing how legends evolve over time. We talk about the climax and ambiguous ending. We talk about the myth of the rock star Eddie Wilson optimized the archetype of the mighty rock legend, charismatic rebellion, and ultimately tragic. The film explores how legend built through with memory and storytelling often detached from the reality of the individual. Travel the illusions of fame and the cost of success. The film critically examines the fleeting nature of fame and its destructive potential, and its disappearance symbolizes the toll of fame, alliance, betrayal, and loss of self. The narrative suggests that the myth often surpasses the main and the truth is illusion. And the source of truth and self-realization. Both sides, Kurt and Eddie's mysterious disappearance symbolizes a universal human desire for authenticity, truth, and understanding. The open-ended conclusion invites viewers to reflect on their own lives about legend and reality. Jogger music and soundtrack, the soul of the film. The role of music in the soundtrack is not merely background music but a narrative device that conveys emotion, character, and themes. The song and their symbolism. On the dark side, an anthem of youthful rebellion embodying the restless spirit of Eddie and his band. Its energetic tries signals the Sanadita symbolize the band's raw power and ambition. We talk about Tandaya's soulful band representing nostalgia, loss, and longing. It emphasized the emotional depth of the characters' stories. If we talk about Eddie and the Cruiser, the title track encapsulates the brand mythic identity, rebellion, passion, and the timeless. Failure of rock. If it ever live for the radio, a reflection on fame, media, and the fleeting nature of success. It ever impact and cultural significance. Soundtrack success extends beyond the film with songs charting nationally and becoming staples of classic rock radio. The music's authenticity and emotional power have kept it relevant, inspiring covers and tributes. Without character studies and performance, a closer look at Wilson Calpair, Pierce Portal captures Eddie's magnetic charisma, internal conflict, tragic vulnerability. His musical performance authenticate the character's role as a talented yet tormented artist. Robert Eddie symbolized the archetypal misunderstood genius, someone who sacrificed personal happiness for the pursuit of artistic truth. Without Selby Pinto, Liana, Sal function, education, self-fiction as audience surrogate, curious, skeptical, and ultimately obsessed. His quest for truth reveals a deeper commentary on pandemic myth making. Tolkien and myth our character introduced themes of innocence, hope, and renewal, contrasting the tumultuous world of Eddie and the band. The band member, each member embodies different facets of the band's internal dynamics, loyalty, ambition, disillusionment, highlighting the pros and cost of fame and artistry. compromise. So it was review of this movie. If there was any mistake in this video, then apply for that. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. See you in class on next video.